Happy January, everyone. And January comes with, at least if you're at elevation and not on the coast or deep down south, snow. So today we're going to talk about our favorite memories of the classic snow day. I know you've had one, or at least you wished you've had one. So I'm going to grab Walt and we're going to dive right in.
Back on another episode of Power Your Retirement. Walter Stroholt is always with you alongside Steve Smith, certified financial planner at Powerhouse Financial Advisors. And, this might end up being a nostalgic episode, Steve, and also maybe a relic. I saw a news story recently that said, I forget what state this was in, but some school system has said no more snow days. We have remote learning in the wake of the pandemic. When there's snow, we'll just do remote learning and snow days are gone. Like they won't be a thing of the past. We won't fall off our calendars anymore. And they're billing it as a good thing. I don't think kids would do the same, though.
Wow. I don't think I could have made it through school that way.
I grew up in North Carolina. We didn't get many snow days, but we did get snow days even for the threat of like a flurry, which was kind of nice. I remember having a snow day once, Steve, when it was 55 outside. The storm that was supposed to happen never happened. It was sunny and 55 the entire day, and we're sitting at home. But, once they make that call, they can't undo it. And so that was one where everybody was blowing up. Just like, come on, you got to be kidding me.
Well, I grew up in Northwest Iowa, as many of you know. And we got some whoppers, especially when you got that Canadian Northwest wind coming straight down from Canada. We got wind and snow and drifts and ice. You wouldn't believe it if I even told you. It was crazy, just at times, not constantly. Not all.
So what was the style for you guys? Did it have, like my cousins and family that lived in New Jersey, they're like, it's got to be a foot to call off school. If it's 2 or 3 inches, we're still going to school. Where again, a flurry got us out of school. So what I'm guessing you were kind of in that category of like normal storms, you were still heading to school?
So normal storms we were, and snow didn't deter. It's the wind, because what would happen, we're rural, remember that? And it's flat as a pancake.
Oh, yeah.
Snow comes down and it's cold, doesn't melt. It just sits there and the wind blows it around, so it would drift over. And it could get really dangerous, like down to 0, -10, 20, 30.
Frostbite for the little kids.
So these buses, they had to go to all the rural areas. So if there was drifting happen, the bus could easily get stuck. They were not 4-wheel drive at the time. So it would be a major, hazard to have a bus in cold weather and wind. And usually they came together. The coldest weather and the wind coming from up north in Canada would definitely come together. So they were more sensitive to wind chill and snow together, the wind blowing. So that's kind of the recipe that they were looking for. Because if they canceled every time we had snow or some kind of storm, we might as well just not go.
Right. Yeah. Just take a couple of months off in the winter. Switch summer break to winter break at that point, right? Well, let's jump into our conversation today. It's all inspired by our snow days of the past, if you will, and snow-related things, and what it teaches us about money and financial lessons, all from this nostalgic part of many of our lives. Even if in the South, you got that maybe one snow day, perhaps, or that 1 week where you got that big storm. I'm sure we've all got those memories. Well, when that snow comes, Steve, I'm sure we all, although I don't know about you in Iowa, right? A little flat there. So this one might not be your cup of tea, but I always had our favorite sledding hills. We lived across the street from a country park, from the county park. And it had its awesome sled hill that we would go and all the kids would hit up, and I could walk there from my house, which was great. And just loved going sledding there. The one funny thing is you had to make sure that when you got to the bottom, though, that you bailed out quickly, because if you just kept riding it, you went out onto the lake. And in North Carolina, those things don't freeze over very well. So there was a little bit of treachery involved of just making sure you don't just enjoy that ride out onto the lake, or else you were going to get very wet very quickly.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. So you almost had to time the bailout to save the sled and save your neck at the same time.
Yes, you had to make sure you were ready to dive out of it before you hit the bottom. That's for sure.
Oh, wow. That sounds fun. Well, sledding, obviously you're going downhill, but what we know about sledding, with going downhill, there's one thing that you have to do, and that, especially if you're going to go more than once, I suppose you could arrive at the top of the hill and go down, but if you want to do it more than once, and who goes sledding to go down once?
Yeah.
You've got to walk back up the hill. And in deep snow, that can be a little bit of a slog. But to put a little finance in it, to equate financial planning, is sometimes it can kind of be the same thing. Because when we're building that, when we're first onboarding someone or they're going into a new phase, they're starting to get closer to retirement, so we do a few extra things. It can kind of feel like walking up that hill because you're like, oh, well, go grab your statement from Social Security, go get this. I need an update on this. And we put it in there, and it just there's a lot of moving parts, and it takes a little while to build that. And it kind of seems like a little bit of a slog going through the snow up the hill. But the great part is that once you get to the top and we start to unlock those doors, it's kind of like going down, because now all of a sudden you know where you're at, whether you like it or not. You know where you're at, you know what you got to do, and you know if you make these tweaks, kind of what long-term happen. So that's kind of that slide down where, the enlightenment of good news or bad news, but also the good part about what do I need to do to get it to the place that I want it to be. So
Yeah.
that can be a little bit of both. That onboarding is always tough, paperwork, and there's all kinds of things that are going on. But the good part is that you get to a place where you know where you are, you know where you're going, and that's worth something.
Yeah, it's a great point. The effort to get to the top of the hill is worth the ride down. So work hard, save money, and enjoy a smoother ride down the hill. And I see the parallels really ringing through there. Let's talk about rolling the snowman, another snow day activity, hopefully for many people in their memories. Every snowman starts with just a small snowball, right? But if you roll it long enough, it grows pretty fast. I'll be interested to see where you want to take this comparison.
Well, there's the good side and the bad side. The good side is if you're investing for a long term and the markets go up, the snowball gets bigger. But what I want to talk about is kind of hit on something that we don't talk as much about here, and that's debt. Okay, that debt snowball. So if you got one of those back in the day, 2005-ish, with interest only type debts, things can compound if you let it get away. Or a credit card, you can let that get away. It can start to roll into a bigger amount of debt. So I just want to encourage everybody that as you accumulate debt along the way, just make sure it doesn't roll up in this big ball that's a little bit out of control. That we're doing the debt snowball, which is shaving it off. It's melting as it's going down. We want to be able to keep that debt under control, because I've seen too many cases when they come to me closer to retirement and they're all excited because they've got a really big retirement account. And then when we start that plan that we were talking about before with the sledding, we start doing that, and I realize they have almost as much debt as they have saved.
Yeah,
that happens. It's not common, but it happens, and then that kind of takes the air out of retirement.
All right, next comparison is stay put to stay safe. Now, I don't like this one as much. I'm an adventurer, Steve. I like to get out there when it's snowing. I like to drive to the snow and go through it and go to the national park when it's snowing and be out in those conditions.
Right.
But there's an exception when that, kind of just nice little snowstorm turns into ice. All right, smartest move probably to stay home at that point, because even the best drivers can't handle ice very well. I would imagine there are financial storms that might be similar here.
Oh, there are. And you just gave me a flashback to when I got my driver's license. I remember a couple incidents. And what would happen is it would be so cold that it would freeze over, and you'd have like this layer of ice, and then it would snow on top. So when you got to a stop sign, people were, even if they're, would just make it a sheet of ice. So the closer you got to the stop sign, the more you just take off, right? Pump the brakes, slam on them, anti-lock, I don't care. You're not stopping, because it's just like black ice, but it's just boom. And I remember when I was a younger driver, I got caught in one of those, like not quite 100% paying attention. I wasn't even late to normal stopping, but with all that ice, wasn't thinking it was there, and boom, just slid right into one of my friend's cars. Luckily, it was just bumper to bumper, and I didn't fix mine, and I made sure I fixed theirs. But it was little, and nobody got hurt. It was just a simple, silly thing. But that ice, if you're not prepared, can be devastating. It could have been horrible. We were going 5 or 10 miles an hour, so it was no big deal. But at the speed to that, it could be bad. And financial storms, as you said, can be bad too. Sometimes there are little bumps in the road. Like last year, it kind of seemed like a big bump, but boom, boom, a couple months later, we're right back on track. By the end of the year, we had a great year. So, but other times it's a 2008 where it's going to take a little while to recover. And you don't know if it's that small one or that big one when you're going into it, right? So it's best, just like on icy roads and snow days, to stay home.
Yeah, don't play the game, right?
Yes, and cut the internet cord so they don't make you do your homework at home.
Sometimes people don't realize that's an option. They think they've got to get out, they've got to time it, and the reality is you don't have to play. You can sit on the sidelines and ride out the storm from the comfort of your home, so to speak.
Yes, and a lot of times, most times, it's best just to ride out the storm. And if you do have to go out, or you've got a liquidity thing, and from the financial perspective that you have to, just make sure that you're using emergency savings and you don't have to sell all your stock. So you got to kind of plan for that. Make sure you have different buckets before and after retirement if you think you'll need it in any situation. So make sure that that's planned appropriate, that you're not all aggressive and then you have to take a big chunk out and markets are down. That can be quite devastating to a plan.
It's a great point. Pack that emergency kit if you are going to go out in the storm so that you can weather it and be prepared for it. Preparation helps on that and the financial side, as you mentioned. Something else you should do when it snows, I still don't typically do this unless we're truly going skiing or snowboarding up in the mountains where I know it's going to be 30-mile-an-hour winds and negative 10-degree temperatures, but you should dress in layers. I find that shorts and a sweatshirt get me by most of the time on snow days, but I know I'm a rare breed from that standpoint. But they keep us comfortable. They let us adapt to conditions changing, all those kinds of things. Common sense, right? What about in the financial world, though? Is there a dressing in layers equivalent?
There is. I would, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I would say diversification gives you some layers because certain industries are hot and others are cold, and the overall market. When you put the S&P 500 together over a long period of time, you get that nice return. As you condense that down into something smaller, you lose that diversification. And sometimes you get lucky and other times you get destroyed. So having that diversification helps you get a positive result long term. So I would say that layers, like when I go skiing, I got my shell, make sure I don't get wet. I've got my hoodie, and then I've got my Under Armour under that. And, depending on the day, I might shed one or two of those.
Yeah, great points. You don't necessarily want to go too far the other direction, right? And be like the kid from A Christmas Story where he was just so stuffed with so many layers he couldn't even put his arms down.
Right. It's good entertainment, though.
Yeah, it is good entertainment. I guess the equivalent of that would be buying all 500 S&P stocks individually instead of just buying like a S&P, index fund or something like that. Talk
about making it hard.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, when you get the snow day, just enjoy it. They're fun because they're often unexpected. Maybe you get a few days advanced warning that you might have it. But kids these days may not have this experience anymore, Steve, right? Everything's so digital. And the update online, though, but it must hit a little bit similarly to when, I don't know if you remember this, but looking back on the TV, and you could only find this out by looking at the local news and waiting for your county school system or your city school system to come up at that bottom of the ticker. And if you were a G and it was already in the, in the K's, you were gonna have to wait a really long time for it to get back to the G's to see if it was you. But then, hey, there it is.
Oh, yes. I got mine on the radio. We didn't even have that. We had to listen to SOU, the local whatever FM stereo or FM radio at the time. And we'd have to listen in the morning, and they'd always announce it, right before swap shop, so nice. We'd make sure we knew what was coming. But But now we have it, they actually send it out digitally, but it's still kind of the same thing. They always get it out before 6 a.m. And a lot of times, we live, it comes over the mountain, and even if it's a big forecast, sometimes it won't get as cold, so we'll get rain. Sometimes, it'll snow a ton. Sometimes it'll be completely wrong. It's very unpredictable. We know the storm's coming, but what we're going to get out of it. So my kids are kind of like, getting up and just wait for that text at 6 o'clock in the morning, hoping that they can just go to bed till 10 o'clock or something.
It's good memories. And you mentioned melting snow, right when you were kind of a kid sometimes, and it would snow in the morning and then be melted by the afternoon. And that was the lesson I always took away too, living in the South. You went out early to play in it because you had no guarantees it would still be there later on. And so it was kind of a fun day. You'd get out and enjoy the snow, relish in it, and then in the afternoon, if it was starting to melt or you got tired, there was just that fun of coming home, having some cocoa, throwing a movie on the TV, and just kind of enjoying the rest of the afternoon or hanging out with your friends a little longer, however the day kind of shaped up. It just great memories built through all of those times. And I think that's kind of the message is when you get these snow days, enjoy them. And I can make this connection for you, Steve. When you get to retirement, that's your snow day. Enjoy it, right?
Enjoy what you built, and when it comes, take advantage of it. It's kind of a good advice for life, and it can make days special. Like I talked about Christmas Day, that we got that snowfall overnight, and then later it warmed up. But you know what? I had the opportunity to run out there in the backyard and make a snow angel. It didn't last long. But you know what? Everybody remembers laughing at me for making a snow angel
there you go.
This morning. So.
That's great. Well, and your snow days in retirement, they may look like a trip, a night out, maybe just the fact that you could retire earlier than you planned. All of those things, I think, would translate well to a retirement snow day, if you will. It'd be nice to end on that positive thought, but I do feel like we need to end on the warning and the reality. And that is that snow days don't last forever. Eventually, school reopens, routines return. And I feel like financial opportunities maybe sometimes are the same, aren't they?
They are, and we need to make sure that we don't rule our days by fear, greed, or both, depending on the circumstance. We have to have a plan, have a goal, and we stick to it. And we do enjoy the days when they come, and the hard days we kind of suck it up. But remember that neither one of those lasts forever, and we plan for the long term to make sure that we work towards our dreams and not just hope, because hope is not a plan.
Great points all across the board. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation today, folks, about snow days and retirement planning. Maybe you went down a memory lane with us a little bit as well. Hopefully you did. If you'd like to talk more about true financial planning, what that looks like, especially if you're in a publicly traded utility, which, hey, we didn't even get into talking about power and snow days, right? Sometimes you'd lose that power. We'll save that conversation for another day, but maybe another good crossover episode, especially for your audience, Steve. As, employees of publicly traded utilities will know very well snow days often bring the no power aspect to it, and maybe a hectic day. But if you are one of those types of employees, Steve has some very specific and unique plans designed just for your industry that help you, not just those of you who are right on the precipice of retirement, but wherever you are in your working career. If you're trying to improve your financial situation, make sure that you're planning well for the future. Reach out and talk to Steve. The best way to get started is to get the Retirement Toolkit. We've got that linked in the description of today's show. It's also at powerupyour401k.com. And you'll be able to get the toolkit that's packed with Steve's books, special reports, and more great information as well, and qualifies you for a one-on-one visit with Steve and the team as well to go over your specific situation. So take advantage of that by clicking the link in the description of today's show. Steve, great going down memory lane with you today. Appreciate that, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, Walt, enjoy the snow. I hear Colorado's got some snow coming.
We might get it. We might get an inch or two. We'll take that after what we've had so far. We're going to call that a snowstorm based on how this winter's gone.
Yes, and if we don't get any, we got to do a ski trip out east. I hear they've got plenty.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. Take care, everybody. We'll see you again next time on Power Your Retirement.
Yes, thanks for listening.
This podcast is provided by Powerhouse Financial Advisors, an independent firm with advisory services offered through Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc., PAS, a federally registered investment advisor. The information provided is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as personalized investment advice. PAS does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of this information for your specific circumstances. Investment decisions should be based on an individual's goals, time horizon, and risk tolerance. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investments carry a degree of risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any case studies, testimonials, or endorsements shared in this podcast are illustrative of individual experiences and may not be representative of the experience of all clients. They do not guarantee future performance or success. You should not infer any level of assurance regarding future financial outcomes. Listeners should consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before making any investment decisions. Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Be sure to consult with your tax and legal professionals regarding your specific circumstances. For a copy of our Form ADV Part 2A, which provides additional information about PAS, including our advisory fees and services, please visit powerhousefinancialadvisors.com.